I think the defining trait of Christopher Nolan's films is something I'd like to call multi-layered storytelling. And that's when we have many different narratives all taking place at the same time, with one impacting the other. Up to the release of Dunkirk, I probably would have cited Inception as the definitive example of this. Without arguing semantics, around 40% of the film's runtime takes place in one of the layers of the dream, be it the rainy city, the hotel, or the mountain fortress. All three of these locations affect one another. During this sequence, Arthur needs to find a way to administer a kick to call back the team at the snow fortress, all the while dealing with the ramifications of the chaos being caused by the van. As far as I'm concerned, this is near perfect storytelling. One narrative impacts another and in turn is impacted by yet another. One storyline isn't given any more importance than the other. The characters need to perfectly orchestrate the plan in order for it to succeed, much like Nolan had to perfectly craft this sequence. But that was 7 years ago, and like any good storyteller, Christopher Nolan is always improving, reworking and reincorporating in older ideas, all the while adding new ones. And with that, we have Dunkirk. Dunkirk's storytelling isn't as straightforward as Inception's, with one narrative bound within another. Instead, we follow three different stories, one at the mole, one at sea, and one in the air. And throughout the course of the runtime, the three narratives overlap and intertwine before converging at one central conclusion. Today, I want to examine how Nolan uses multi-layered storytelling to create suspense and ultimately elevate his story before looking at the conclusion and what this reveals to be the film's message. The sea and the mole storylines first intersect when Mr. Dawson picks up the shivering soldier, who is traumatized, suffering from what now may be viewed as post-traumatic stress, horrified to return to Dunkirk.
I'm not turning around.
Turn it around!
Later in the film, when returning to the mole storyline, we see the same shivering soldier, only now perfectly emotionally healthy.
You have to stay calm, there are plenty of boats.
This ultimately helps to create tension. We know that the ship will sink and the vast majority of these people are going to die, but we don't know how or when or why. It plays off of the most fundamental rule of creating tension. Give the audience enough information to create a problem, but not enough to show how it will be resolved.
I wanted to address the story very much in the language of suspense. That's the most visual language of film there is.
Multi-layered storytelling is used to show off the horrors of war. In the case of the shivering soldier, it creates a juxtaposition between being stable and being broken. It shows us how in a matter of days, war can change anybody completely. Later in the film, Nolan uses it to help change our perceptions of what we think safety is. During the dogfight scenes after Collins is shot down, we as the audience are led to believe, just like Ferrier is, that Collins has made it to safety, only later to realize that he was trying to signal that he needed help, not that he was safe. This shows off another major theme of the movie, the chaos of war, and how easy it is to lose track of what is important and what is right. There's a fog of morality that surrounds all of the characters, be it Tommy and Gibson's attempts to sneak onto the boat for their safety, disregarding everybody else, the shivering soldier's struggles leading to the death of George, or Ferrier's inability to save his partner. To a certain extent, all of these people are trying to do what is right, be it try to serve their country or try to save their own lives. But as with everything in war, nothing is that simple. There are costs of doing everything. These costs are made abundantly clear through the film's use of escalating stakes. Because of the nature of the film, intercutting back and forth between the three narratives, it is able to do a great job of always raising the stakes. All of the narratives follow a standard 3-act structure. And although we don't reach the climaxes until the end of the movie, through editing the film is able to create suspense from the beginning until the end. After an exciting part of one narrative, the film cuts to another, helping to build suspense and to leave the audience in doubt about what will happen next.
You want to have two things going. You reach the peak of one, you go to the other. You pick the other up just where you want it. When it loses it, just drop it.
For example, after the most exciting moment of this scene, we cut away, only to return later. This all helps to build onto itself, to keep the audience entrenched with the story before the resolution and the climax.
So when you're cross-cutting these different timelines, you're never departing from the subjective storytelling, the human scale storytelling, but you are starting, hopefully, to build up a coherent picture of the larger events that need telling.
By the end of the film, its main message is revealed. That anyone can be a hero. The perceptions about what others think of you means nothing compared to what you actually do. Take, for example, Tommy, the character who we spend the most time with. The only reason that we follow him is that he is the last of the 6 soldiers at the beginning to survive. There's nothing special about him. He just got lucky. And even though we know very little about him and his backstory, we still care for him and want to see him succeed. This extends to the rest of the soldiers on the beach and in the boats. We feel emotion towards them, not because we know them, but because they are human living through the worst scenario imaginable. This film is a testament to what humanity can achieve when we work together, and shows us the importance of good in a situation as horrible as war.
I'm staying. For the French.
Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed. Dunkirk is absolutely fantastic. I've been wanting to talk about it since I saw it back in July, and I'm so glad I finally got the chance. I've seen it 3 times now and would definitely put it up there with Nolan's best work. He was able to create so much emotion and say so much about the nature of war, sacrifice, and even perception. To put it simply, this movie is nothing short of a masterpiece. Anyway, if you're new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button, and if you want more, I put a link to my last video on Wes Anderson and the journeys of his characters. Be sure to check that video out if you missed it, and I will see you next week. Thanks for watching.